Good
Good
morning.
good morning, Molly. How are you?
Good- I'm good, Julia. And you? And how was your Easter and how was everybody else's Easter? Well, it's still Easter. It's still Easter Monday. So we're still
Yeah.
in the Easter weekend, right? So
Mm-hmm.
happy
I had a very
Easter.
good Easter. I had the best ham ever. Man, I made that ham and it was like super good.
Ooh.
Um, we had nice dinner and just a laid back kind of day.
Well, Saturday we started our celebrations. We did a wedding for Annie DeRushy, and a lot of people know Annie as cosplay. So Annie
Mm-hmm.
as Sam. It was a really different, a wonderful wedding. Usually the music was awesome because they chose a lot of it and it was all the stuff that group wanted to dance to. The dance floor was packed the entire night. And usually at 1 o'clock we wind down with a slow song. Not at this one. It was the fastest song of the night. It was their send-off song. And then it was like done. It was really good. And then yesterday we had Easter supper with my sister and my brother-in-law, and my mom, turkey dinner. It was so good. Today we're doing ham. We're having Sheldon's kids over.
Oh, okay.
We're cooking the ham today, so we're gonna have
Oh,
a bit of
cool,
everything.
cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
Was
That's
the
good.
was the Easter bunny good to you? Did you get a lot of
Oh,
chocolate?
I don't really do that anymore. Like I don't need the chocolate really. So no, we didn't do chocolates.
Yeah, we don't anymore either. Nobody needs it. So except I did buy everybody a little chocolate bunny because my
Oh,
dad used to do that every Easter. My dad gave us a little bunny in a bag, so I did it just to keep his
aw,
memory alive. Yeah, it was nice.
cute.
It was nice.
Cool, cool. Yeah.
So did
Oh,
everybody else, any of our listeners have anything interesting happen this Easter? Did you all have a good Easter? And
I'm sure they did.
and
I know somebody.
stores. What's open and what's closed today? Do you have any idea?
I don't know about today, but I was surprised to see that the dollar store was open yesterday.
And Walmart, we went by in the evening and it looked closed around 9 o'clock.
Yeah, no, I'm sure Walmart was closed yesterday, but dollar store was open. I went to get some gravy. I had forgotten gravy for my meal, and so
Well,
I was like happy to see that it was open. So I popped in and I did that. But I don't know, like it's not like it used to be. Remember Easter back in the day? Like everything was closed.
yeah,
Everything. Like you couldn't find anything. So
yeah. No, this year it was Good Friday, Easter Sunday, Saturday. The Cornwall was a complete zoo because everybody, had starved that one day and we're out now. And then
mhm.
yesterday it was we're not sure. And then today I don't know if anything's open, but I'm not venturing into town anyway. So.
Yeah. So
So today we have an interesting show.
yes, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Julia, but lately we hear of so many more accidents happening. Like
Yes.
anytime I go onto Facebook anyway, there's somebody saying avoid this area, avoid that area, there's an accident. Well, we went, what day was it that we went down to eat at that restaurant? There was an accident right on Brookdale. Somebody was turning the wrong
Yeah.
way. Brook,
Uh-huh. It was like the day of the debate. We had gone to
yeah,
Wing House and there was a big accident right there on Brookdale, but it seems like it's happening all the time. And I'm not sure if it's because we're seeing more of it on social media and we
yeah.
kind of feel like it's happening more, but it's not really happening more, or if it's because like there's a big rumor out there about like newcomers and causing accidents, which I hope we can debunk. But
Yeah.
we have somebody with us today that's going to help us.
We
Maybe
have
go ahead.
Well, we've got Constable Andrew Booth Reddick, number 466 of the Cornwall Police Service Traffic Unit. And hopefully he's going to answer some of these questions for us because this is, to me, is a hot topic right now. It's crazy.
Good
So,
morning, everyone.
welcome, Andrew. So, how long have you been with the Cornwall Police Force doing this? And tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get here?
Yeah, perfect. No, thank you for having me on the show too as well. My name is Constable Andrew Booth Reddick. I've been with the Cornwall Police for approximately 4.5 years now. It's been absolutely amazing. Prior to that, I used to work in northern Quebec in a place called Inukjuak. Even before that, I've got a lot of prior experiences in different organizations. I used to work for the parliamentary precinct and as well as the Canadian Forces. Prior to even that, I'm glad to say I was part of the Cornwall Police Service prior to that as a dispatcher in the early 2010s. And it was absolutely phenomenal. Gave me a lot of insight to Cornwall and everything that's happening around here. Really provided me the experience and education to know to kind of level myself up. Really got me to know that I really want to be a police officer. So I began getting my experience and education here and around in my other careers, which brought me back to Cornwall. And I'm excited to be back for the last few years and really getting into the role of traffic enforcement and really trying to make safer Cornwall for everyone.
Wow. So so you have seen traffic incidents and stuff other than Cornwall, which is awesome.
Absolutely, that experience really brings it
Yeah.
in to here, and really I can bring that forward to help here.
Yeah, and I know you do a lot of school presentations, I believe, don't you? You talk to a lot of youth.
We do some school presentations. I'm lucky to have a lot of partners with me in the youth services division and crime
Yeah.
reduction divisions that really help with that. And as you probably saw, some of my social media that's been put on the Cornwall Police website certainly brings it out to everybody for education.
Yeah, wonderful. So anyway, we've been seeing a lot more accidents, so we're going to be asking you about that kind of thing. But I have a really important thing to ask. Since the pandemic, it seems like a lot of people have foggy brain, they're distracted. Have you seen more accidents since the pandemic happened, or has it
So
been safe?
yeah, no, what's interesting, so during the pandemic, we saw a lot of, the statistics kind of drop off between those years. A lot of people weren't driving or going out as much. And we
Mm,
certainly saw that uprise when the pandemic started lowering the restrictions and so on. And we started seeing people get back to kind of the normal life. So we started seeing drivers obeying the laws as they started getting back onto the roadways more and more. But then I think a lot of the big word of today might be complacency, where people got back on the roads, they got used to their daily drives again, and now we're looking at people who were doing 50 in a 50 kilometer hour zone, now doing 60, 70, and doing turns or doing maneuvers that they shouldn't be. So we're starting to see people maybe a little bit more distracted than usual after the post-pandemic. So now here we are. So now we're talking about collisions. We're starting to hear more about it.
So let me ask you this, because there is a phenomenon that people are posting about these accidents on social media a lot. So do we just feel like there's more accidents, or are there really more accidents? Because when you're seeing them more, you kind of feel like, oh my God, this is happening every day. What's happening?
yeah.
But is it just an illusion, or are the statistics really shooting up?
Yeah, no, what's great is once I was invited to the show, I really started diving into the statistics and started going with the Collision Reporting Center who reports these collisions. And we didn't see much of an uprise in statistics over year. But what we do see is our population growing in the city of Cornwall. And we do see an influx of employment in Cornwall where we're seeing the collision timings being between a certain ratio. So if we look at the statistics from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., those are when most of our collisions are occurring in the city of Cornwall. Well, what's happening between those times? People are coming into work, people are leaving work, and people are coming in from the city and going out back to where they live. So we're starting to see the same collisions, the same areas, in the same times. So we're not so much seeing more collisions. And you're absolutely right. We're hearing more about it. And
Mhm.
what's kind of good and bads about that is Facebook and all these social media sites are wonderful to put out information. And I find since the post-pandemic, people have been using their phones more, taking photos more, and sharing more information. So you'll see another accident. And with groups on the Facebook, I think that some people have seen like Cornwall groups where they're sharing information. A lot of people are sharing their comments and concerns and sharing that outward, and it makes its way. Alongside that, we have our media division in the Cornwall Police Service who shares that information so that people can be safe. They can reroute around those collisions and make their way so that the congestion in those areas doesn't cause another collision. So we
Mhm.
can get people safely where they need to be. And once it's relieved of that collision, that area, then we like to post that the area is now free. This has actually alleviated a lot of traffic concerns that we have normally during those collisions, which is great for officer safety and great for the public.
Yeah, exactly. I just had a question that, okay, are there any areas that a lot of accidents happen in Cornwall? Are there certain areas, certain corners that you see more accidents happening?
So I certainly find myself on Brookdale Avenue more frequently than most other roads.
Mhm.
But it's certainly the main stretches, and that's always been year after year. When looking at the statistics, looking at the locations of collisions, we're starting to see 9th Street, Brookdale Avenue, Montreal Road heading east. And when we start looking at these roadways, we're looking at roadways that are still 50 kilometers an hour, but people tend to have more of a heavy foot during those places because they're long stretches of roadway. If you see someone getting a green light after green light, well, the acceleration tends to be more and more.
Mhm.
And so those are the places we're seeing people do a little more speeding, a little more maneuvers. So we start seeing restaurants opening up on Brookdale where people got to turn left into a median or right into a store. Well, we start seeing a lot of our collisions being turning maneuvers and
Yep.
speeding. So these are where all these most of our collisions are occurring because of all those maneuvers that people have to perform in those locations.
Yeah, that was the maneuver I think we saw in Brookdale that night. Somebody had turned left and it wasn't a left turn, and then the other car, of course, hit them. So, but I know there's a lot of one-way streets in Cornwall too that people go down the wrong way. We
Oh
used
God.
to, we used to, yeah, well,
Guilty.
we used to live on Fourth Street West, where it hits Cumberland. Is it Cumberland? Yep. And people would come up Fourth the wrong way, and of course, the person going across Cumberland, they'd hit because there's no stop sign, so they go straight across the road. We lived on that corner. We heard plenty of accidents. Do you find a lot of accidents are caused by one-way streets and people not going up them the right way?
So what's interesting is in my 4 years, have not been at a collision where it was someone going down the wrong way. They usually tend to find out
Well,
pretty quick that they're going down the wrong way when
yeah.
people are flashing their lights and honking their horns. Does it happen? It just happened the other day. I had pulled someone over going the wrong way down the one-way street. And the same thing happens where I explain, how did you not see what occurred? And I actually enjoy hearing about these calls because me and the city work together, and I'll have meetings with the city. Maybe the signage needs to be changed. Maybe the arrow needs to be
Yep.
bigger. Is it something that it's not the driver's fault? Or is it something that we can do environmentally to help someone understand that road a little better? Or is it certainly just drivers not paying attention enough to the signage and actually going down the wrong way? So we have to kind of figure out where that's going so we can actually try and avoid those situations.
Yeah.
So that brings me to distracted driving, because like that seems to be you're saying complacency, but I think there's another piece that is like distraction. Like,
Mhm.
are we just too full of stuff, like, because we're bombarded all the time with media and social media, and like, you know I know that I found myself on Sydney one time. I was driving home and I turned on Sydney the wrong way, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I was just not there. Like, do you find that there's a lot more
Yeah,
distracted?
so it's awesome. We brought up the post-pandemic and how people are getting back into complacency mode and
Yeah.
driving. And I think people have kind of forgotten year after year and after so many years of driving that you are driving a 5,000 pound kind of rocket around, right? And I think people forget the weight and the speed and how these things affect it. So when we look at distracted driving, we look at cell phone usage. How many people, when you drive down the street, how many people are walking with their cell phones,
Yep.
crossing the street still on their
Yep.
cell phone? So, and even on a bike on their cell phone. So you start seeing a lot of this where distraction and everyone socially interacting via the phone. But when we look at distracted driving, even take away the phone. Well, now we have vehicles that are smart vehicles, Teslas, where we used to have small radios in our car, 8 tracks, maybe back in my day, but the old radios. But now you're looking at vehicles with tablets that are just massive. A lot of light coming off them, a lot of, buttons to push, and a lot of, GPS stuff. But ideally, yeah, does hands-free mean hands-free anymore when you're trying to find buttons and your head is down and you're not paying attention to your surroundings? So as when people are getting complacent like that, they tend to get a little distracted, but we can't forget about post-pandemic life. Like in general, people are after work thinking about home, supper, whatever it may be. All these distractions but while you're driving with a 3,000 pound rocket underneath you, right? So I think
Yeah.
people just need to kind of maybe try and check and go back to, okay, I'm driving this large vehicle. Now we're in warmer weather. There's pedestrians everywhere. I need to put
Yep.
everything away on Do Not Disturb and try and make our way home safely.
Well, because talking about those screens, like, I mean, you used to have buttons that you could feel for and touch. Well, now you got a screen. I don't think you can actually feel anything. You've got to look and see what you're pushing.
Yeah,
So
no,
you
it used to be
definitely,
like you had a volume button and the power off
yeah,
button, and maybe change the station, and you were just
yeah,
listening at the static while you were trying to get to the next
yeah,
station. But now you're right. There's so many options. The
yeah,
hands-free is what it is. They advise you to use it, and it does work, but you still see people trying to go into different options as they're driving, which is unfortunate. A few seconds with your head down, just trying to find a button, could be the result of a collision, and we don't like seeing that. So people just need to prep their vehicle before they leave, take that 30 seconds, get their options where they need them to be, and make their way home safely.
yeah.
We do,
Speaking of,
we do have a question from a viewer. I'm not sure if you can answer that or not, but I'm gonna put it up. He said, no, not that one, sorry. Okay, are they going to do something about the traffic on Montreal Road at Tim Hortons, because it's bad there?
So you know what's interesting about the when you see the Tim Hortons post, because I've seen the one at 9th Street, I've seen the one at Montreal Road, and even the one on Brookdale. When you start seeing that much congestion at those Tim Hortons, it starts leading to problems where vehicles are waiting on the roadway. So I have a meeting with the city coming up in relation to that, where we will be discussing how these things are implemented. They've been there for years. Luckily, we've avoided a lot of our response collisions to these areas, but that's because people just got used to them. But should that be the case? So this is something we're looking into, and hopefully we can come up with a better solution of how traffic should work around these Tim Hortons or local restaurants with major lineups.
There you
yeah.
have it. Got another question. Somebody's
Mhm.
asking, are there any new e-bikes or e-scooter laws or ordinances in the works for the summer months?
So you keep following. So about e-bikes, because we're starting to see generally a lot of them
Yep.
and different, of course, of them. Make sure to always follow the laws that have always been in place. There's nothing new as of right now that I've been made aware of for this year. It's always been the same laws where you were to wear a protective helmet, go under a certain speed of 32 kilometers an hour. If any e-bike goes above that, then it needs license, registration, and insurance, and basically to always follow the laws of the road. Nothing has certainly changed this year that I'm aware of, but I will be posting in the Cornwall police page and the city of Cornwall if anything changes or there's newer laws that are coming out.
Yeah, and of course, with the
Right.
e-bikes and scooters, you've got skateboarders too that will be coming out and
We see all kinds of
side.
different vehicles out there, and we just advise everyone to be safe and follow the laws.
Yeah.
A lot of bicyclists that we're looking out for, they're supposed to obey the same traffic laws, basically as vehicles, stop for red lights and so on. So we'll be on the lookout for that, and then we're aware that the summer is now here, and I'm glad to be in the position I am, so I can go out there and enforce these laws to make sure everyone's safe.
Are there like proportionally, is there a lot of pedestrians involved in those traffic accidents that you're seeing, or
So when I looked at the statistics from last year and I started kind of gauging what is a lot towards our population. So when we look at our population, 2021 at 47,000, and
Mhm.
certainly that population has gone up in the last few years, just awaiting the numbers. But certainly I'm not seeing more than usual pedestrian strikes. The
Hmm.
only thing that I would caution people in relation to those kind of things is we're starting to see them even in crosswalks where vehicles are stopping over the lines or making turns without coming to a full stop at a red light. I've seen that a little bit more than usual. So I think people just need to be aware when it's a stop sign or when it's a red light, even if you're turning right or regardless of the maneuver you're about to perform, it's always coming to a complete full stop. Take a big few seconds to look left and right to ensure no pedestrians, and then do your maneuver. We're also seeing these pedestrian collisions, a few of them that I've been to in the recent year, where pedestrians are out late at night wearing completely dark clothing,
Yep.
almost invisible.
Yep.
And at the intersections they are, where there is maybe little to no lighting, this is very difficult for drivers. So
Yep.
having yourself be seen at night is important. And just a word of caution to the pedestrians is take an extra second as well. Look at the vehicle. Is it full, come to a full stop? Is it not? Is it my time to walk? And be cautious when walking around.
I find that there's been a couple of times that on the pedestrian crosswalks, I think that's what you call them. Yeah, I'm from England. They called them zebra crossings. But but I've stepped out onto one of those crossings and almost been hit by a car. They don't see them and they don't stop. They just keep going, especially in front of the grocery stores. They
Hmm.
A lot of them just keep driving. Is there
Yeah, no,
You
I
notice a
certainly
lot of
take an extra
accidents?
look even when I leave the grocery store, Walmart, and all these
Yeah,
places. Whether it's a crosswalk or not, take that extra second. It's very important. These drivers are supposed to yield to the pedestrians,
yeah,
but yeah, it's just one of those things where everyone's got to be, paying attention and basic general courtesy with that as well, right? You see someone about to walk out, take the extra
yep,
second and try not to beat it with speed. Just allow that pedestrian to cross.
Bicycles too. Like we got a letter to the editor just last week. Somebody was pleading with cyclists to please wear something light so they can be seen because
yeah,
there's so many. It's hard. It's hard for us older people to see at night sometimes.
Oh, even the younger people. But so one suggestion I have for anyone who's operating, let's say, little e-bikes or bicycles or even pedestrians is the dollar store, even for a dollar, has the glow bracelets for
Mm,
at night
yep,
or anything like that. So I'm even seeing dogs now with the glow bracelets around their neck.
yeah,
Hugely important. I've driven at night and I can't even hardly see the person, but I can see the dog with a glow bracelet a mile away. Or
right.
kids wearing reflective, but the parents are not. It's very interesting to see how
yep,
that perspective changes. And these things are coming at such a cheap rate that maybe that $2 item, that a reflective band around the arm, could be the difference between being seen and not being seen.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Cool.
Talking about not being seen, I'm noticing this, and this seems so stupid to me. You have kids sitting on the side of the road on their phones, and their feet are on the street, like on the road. Like that would be so stupid because a car can come around the corner, drive right over them. It don't doesn't
I,
even see
I've
them.
certainly driven down the road and kind of rolled down my window and hey, watch your feet, because a
Yeah,
vehicle could park in that section if it's a open, open spaces for parking,
yeah,
and just drive on in, and they got to be so careful. So that's the whole paying attention thing, the whole know your surroundings. That's where that comes out again. So I really hope I try and provide a lot of education around those things.
yeah,
Luckily, I haven't seen in myself a collision involving someone's legs being out like that in the sidewalk, but certainly this causes maybe a driver to slam his brakes before going in there, and this can cause a congestion behind that driver and other issues. So yeah, we just got to be careful.
Somebody has another question. Um,
hmm,
are
one.
ATV four wheelers allowed on the street?
So when we look at the city of Cornwall bylaws, so ATVs are not allowed on the street. There is certain exemptions out there in different areas. So depending on where you are, where the question's coming from, know your local laws from outside to inside here. But anytime an ATV is on the street, regardless of the local bylaw, it needs a license, registration, and insurance.
Hmm.
And that being said, in the city of Cornwall, ATVs under the bylaw are not allowed to be operating within the city limits.
So
So you have to.
even if they're plated and licensed, they still can't be in on the streets, you mean?
That's right. Under the bylaw,
Oh,
so it's not a higher traffic act issue here, but under the bylaw, which we're still looking at to this day, but we want to ensure that the vehicle, if it is moving, license, registration, insurance at all times, if it's ever on a city street. This is
okay.
me just generalizing any city around us as well. But the city of Cornwall does have a bylaw in place for the all-terrain vehicles in the city.
So
Oh,
on a
okay.
trailer to take it wherever you want
Yeah,
to go with you.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Elise, do you have anything else? I have a few more questions
I
here.
just want to point out something that happens quite often too, and I'm sure there's collisions. You're in a parking lot, you're backing out, and the person going past cannot take that 2 seconds to wait till you pull out. They got to scoot right behind you, almost hitting you. Do you find that causes accidents a lot?
Yeah, so we luckily for us, we have the collision reporting center where minor accidents that may cause small damage don't
Yeah.
involve a police officer having to attend anymore. But I certainly have their statistics, which I do find seeing a lot of smaller stores with big parking lots causing collisions where there is minor damage. That's going back kind of back to our normal thing where everyone's in a rush. where nobody wants to take 2 seconds
Yeah.
anymore to wait for someone else, or and just general courtesy. So this is where I try and do my education pieces about taking time, take an extra second. If an extra 5 seconds of waiting is the difference between going home and whatever, then that's maybe a shouldn't be
Yeah.
driving scenario where you're that much a rush where this causes collisions. And then we talked about distracted driving. Well, is distracted maybe trying to rush home and trying to figure out
Yep.
alternative routes and being that fast. So taking the extra 2 seconds can save the difference between being at a collision or having to deal with multiple other problems. So we hope that people start understanding to take their time.
Yeah.
The more they hear about the collision, this is including the more we post about collisions, the more that it's out there, regardless of what people's feelings are about these collisions. It's good that people talk about it. The more people talk about it, and the next day they tend to be like, "Oh, I'm going to make sure to be careful on this road,"
Yep.
and that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Um, I want to talk about road rage. So, do you see a lot of it? Do you see a lot more of it? Like, how has it evolved since like the last 10 years, let's say? Is it like, because I find that we're all so freaking ready to
Mm.
explode at all times. Do you see that on the roads?
We certainly see it on the roads. We certainly hear about it. I can only speak from my perspective. There's a lot of officers here who do a fantastic job of dealing with these situations, but we don't find ourselves responding to that many road rage incidents. These things tend to boil over pretty quick with some language outside the window, and they drive on and go about their day. But certainly, we got to be very cautious, right? If and we talk, we're always going to lead back to complacency and distracted driving. If you're that much in a rush, where
Mm-hmm.
maybe someone cutting you off is going to be the difference between you now speeding 100 kilometers an hour to catch up to them, who's really causing the bigger issue there? So I think people need to take a step back. I used to, you just kind of mouth off in your car and you're just like, I'm so mad, right? That used to be the way to deal with it. Dealing with the other person is not always the way to go about it. So just keep it in and try and
Yeah.
just keep driving safe. If you're that angry where you feel like you might give a response to that, maybe it's best to park to the side of the road or park off somewhere, take a minute, breathe it
Take
in,
a
breathe
breathe,
out, and then, yeah, and go
a
back
breath.
out. We talk about distracted driving like we always will. Distracted driving is not just a mobile phone, it's also you yourself. And if you're not calm,
Yeah.
cool, collected when you're driving, well, now you're just driving unsafe.
You're distracted.
Well,
Right, right,
especially when
right.
you're driving that rocket, you know what I mean? I like
Well,
what
that's
you said
it. So
that.
that's it. You're such in a weighted vehicle. Police officers,
Yeah.
everyone, we're driving transport trucks are driving, and these things weigh thousands upon
Yeah.
thousands. And I think people tend to forget that thing can do a lot of damage involved in a collision or any type of situation. So we just got to be mindful of that.
I've got a story for you quick. And I couldn't believe this happened to me. This is like, I don't know if it was road rage, the guy was impatient or what the problem was. So I live around Martintown, and last summer they were working on the bridge. So there was lights, there was traffic lights at the bridge in Martintown. I'm coming from Apple Hill. I'm stopped at the red light. There's a car behind me and a car behind that guy. The light is red. The car behind the third car, like the one after the car after me, comes around the car in front and me, goes right through the red light and makes a left turn. And the light is red. He didn't even like talk about impatient. He came round the cars and went through the light. I'm
So
thinking, why?
when you see
So
something like that, should you report it?
Yeah,
absolutely. So why not, right? This person is maybe a danger. If they're doing that there, what are they doing down the road?
yeah,
So there's no harm in reporting a dangerous driver who's doing those kind of maneuvers.
okay,
These kind of situations, and just to kind of explain it, it goes to a dispatch center. It's queued up as a call or information broadcast to all officers who may be in that area, and they'd be circulating around and maybe looking for that driver who's conducting those kind of maneuvers. It's dangerous to you, dangerous to me, and if you
yeah,
felt that it was dangerous at the time, of course, who knows what down the road holds. So a fun thing about being in the traffic enforcement unit along with frontline patrol, helping and assisting, working side by side, is when we see an issue like that where you've reported it, right? A driver at this light. Well, is it always happening at that light? Well, that's good for us to know because then
Hmm.
maybe we'll be there the next time. So, a story about that to add on to your story is the city of Cornwall was doing construction on Montreal Road, and we noticed two portable construction lights that were red and green that they changed their light cycle were placed on Montreal Road. Well, during the nighttime hours or during hours where there wasn't construction workers, people thought, I'm not waiting for this red light for that
Mm-hmm.
long. So they'd look at in the distance, not see anything, and drive through. I was told about this. This was put onto the Facebook page of the Cornwall Police. And so we created a traffic initiative amongst many officers to go down there and look at it. And the next thing you know, we're writing tickets and people are now starting to comply. We've posted it online. Here's what you see. And we show a rack of tickets for that situation. Now everyone underneath says, thank you for being there. We'll be on the lookout. And other drivers are now avoiding the area because they don't want to be involved. And that's good. If you don't want to wait that time, find another route. And if you're willing
Yeah.
to wait that 90 seconds, by all means, go there. But know that will be there. And that's a fantastic education and enforcement piece that helps the city work its way through things.
Yeah, that's a
All
good
right.
point. That's a good point though, Julia, saying report it. That
Report
happened to
it.
me that happened to me so fast. I was like, "What?" I didn't even have time to
Yeah.
look at his license plate
Yeah, and it's
because it
just
was
like
so stupid.
oftentimes on the 138 you see these assholes, I'm sorry, that are so much in a hurry. Like I'm doing, I probably shouldn't be saying that when an officer in the room, but I'm doing 90, look, on an 80 zone, because it's like, the traffic goes and it flows. So I usually go like 5 to maybe 10 kilometers above. But this guy comes out of nowhere, like there's 3 cars behind me, and he
Yep.
just takes off and goes like, and he cuts like right in front of a transpo,
Yep.
like 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 you know like he could have caused an accident. Like it's crazy. One time I even had to like move over because he was like, he was gonna hit the car, like. So when you
No, for
see
sure,
that,
speeding
people
is
report it. And
yeah, no, for sure. Speeding is going to always be the one major issue of vehicles, right? There's always going to be someone in a rush somewhere, and people have the misconception if you're on the highway or you're on our roadways, oh, if I do 60 kilometers an hour in this 50 zone, I won't get stopped. Well, that's not the
oh, I
truth.
know I'm gonna
You're
get stopped.
speeding. No, no. But so imagine someone saying, "Well, 85 is not bad in this 50 zone," or some every like I said before, and
Yeah.
complacency will be the word of the day
Yep.
where year after year, oh no, 55 is good. No, 60 is going to be okay. 70 and a 50, I haven't been pulled over yet. 75 and a 50. And play with the threshold, right? So people need to be mindful that 50 kilometers in a 50-kilometer zone, there's a reason for those speeds. They're not just invented magic speeds that are there. They're for the
Mhm.
purposes of being able to brake fast if a kid runs
Yep.
out. They're always there for a particular reason, and that's why you see those speeds fluctuate. Once you're over the bridge north on Brookdale, that speed changes to 70, and there's a reason for that because now there's not many businesses, residences on the left and right, so you can speed a little bit faster. Tollgate
Mhm.
turns to 60 at one point, same idea. But when you start getting those 50 zones, there's a reason for it. And when the school's on and you see those flashing lights with a 40-kilometer hour zone, there's a reason for that. But unfortunately, some people believe, well, you know what? I think school's out today, or the kids don't have break lunch until 12, and it's 10 o'clock. Maybe I'll speed through the zone and get through it. Well, luckily, we've been
No,
there a lot
yeah.
of the time, so we've solved those issues a little bit. So we're hoping
Yeah.
to keep enforcing that and educating the public so we can make it a safer Cornwall.
Next thing you know, Andrew's knocking at my door after the show with a
Yeah,
ticket
yeah. Yeah,
in
yeah, I got a
hand.
whole ticket book ready for you over here, so we're good.
Oh boy. Okay, so I want to ask about distracted driving some more, because a lot of people don't really know what that means. They think that it's only their phones. But if I'm holding a bagel from Tim Hortons, am I distracted?
Well, you're not distracted, but under the Highway Tract Act, we wouldn't give you a ticket for distracted driving if you're having a bagel or taking a sip of coffee. But think about the maneuvers you're doing at that time. Could it be careless? And that's where we start talking about different laws under the Highway Tract Act, where careless driving. Are you driving with undue care? If I have 3 bagels and I'm putting on lipstick at the same time I'm driving and I'm distracted, well,
Mascara.
distracted driving with a device is one thing, but careless driving is another. So people have
Yep.
to be careful of all those things. Looking down and playing with your radio, and you're doing that for 15 seconds straight and not even paying attention. Seen that before. What is that? Maybe it's not so much, a handheld device, but it's certainly distracted driving or driving with undue care. So, with all these devices and all the rush of the world, where you're trying to get to work, but oh, okay, I need to do three things along the way. People just got to be mindful. Again, going back, complacency, 3,000 pound rocket underneath you. We have to be
Yeah.
careful.
Okay, so somebody asked, what was the most ticketed traffic offense last year in Cornwall?
So, not that I have that statistic as of yet, unfortunately, but from what I gather and from what I've been taking in from all the frontline officers who've been enforcing the laws, it looks like speeding is probably going to take the top of that. And improper turns are pretty big as well. So, I've laid a lot of those tickets in the last year. Um, we do see distracted driving being in the top. It will always be there. It's just something we see quite often, but speeding is certainly something we're starting to see a lot more of, unfortunately, and even speeding into the point of stunt driving, and that's unfortunate. So, I not that I have the statistics and I can't guarantee it, but certainly speeding should be the top.
And what's the fine for if you're driving and looking at your phone?
Oh, see, now I'm gonna go right in here because I want to make sure to give you the right numbers, if you don't mind me.
I think it's a hefty fine.
Oh, yes. So when we start talking about driving with a cell phone, or it's not coming up for me here. Ah, I'll look at my little book. So this is like a little notebook companion, provides a lot of information for police officers. Makes it
Okay.
easy. So it's in relation to $685 is what I believe. I'll just get the nice
Oh,
little number here. Oh yes, no, the fine has gone up.
wow.
Then upon conviction, you have a 3 day suspension if you're found guilty. So a three day suspension of your license, a hefty fine, and now you're dealing with any type of court costs if you're going through that process. And now you have to deal with your insurance as well. So upon conviction, this is going to be dealt with your insurance company as well, where there's demerit points involved. So now you might be looking at a raise in your insurance. And what's the reason for that ticket being issued to you? Was it a part of a collision? Was it part of just being distracted and having a handheld device? So these are the things we have to look for.
Oh, okay. So
Wow.
it's not just a straight ticket then. There's other
Uh-uh.
things too. Wow.
Yeah, there's
Oh, yeah.
more
So
involved.
it's changed. It changed over the last
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know it used to be like 375
Yeah.
but like 10 years ago they've gone up a lot.
I thought it
Yes.
was that too. I thought it was around 300 still, but wow.
No, so
A
the
lot
set
more.
fine is $500 and the total payable is $615. And then upon conviction, if that's the way it proceeds, then it's a 3 day suspension to your license as well. So
Wow.
this, I can only see that amounting more and more with every year that passes due to the
Yep.
fact that we're starting to see a lot of distracted driving collisions that are occurring.
Mhm.
So maybe not in the city of Cornwall, but through all the traffic conferences that we've been seeing and the Canadian statistics that you start seeing, you find distracted driving is one of the top reasons that major collisions, including fatal and injury collisions, are occurring, which is unfortunate. So we'd like to see those fines go higher because it's just a reminder that this should not be happening at all.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
curious about the and maybe you don't, you probably don't have statistics for it, but in your experience, are there a lot more young drivers using their phones, or is it more older drivers?
So you know what's very interesting about that, and I love that question that got brought up because ideally we're talking about young drivers usually just pass their tests not long in the first few years, so they're still in safety mode sometimes. So they're still, especially when they're operating a vehicle alone, they know we're out there. They do not want that $615 fine because they've recently heard about how much it is and what it
Hmm.
can do to their license. What I start to see is a lot of complacent drivers year after year. They'll see my car rolling up and they'll throw their phone to the side or throw it in the middle or whatever. But it's because they're getting complacent and they think they can get away with it. I've had drivers at red lights on their cell phone who I have a pleasure of meeting onto the side of the road after I pull them over. And they tell me, well, it's a red light. I'm allowed to be on my phone. It's when I'm driving, I'm not allowed. Well, that's not the case either. So distracted driving is what it is, and that's the reason for a lot of collisions. So that's why we're trying to stop that there and then.
Correct. You can't use your phone
It
At
doesn't
any
matter.
on a
point in
red light.
time
Yeah.
while you're, yeah,
Not even, can you
Oh,
on the side, if you're on the side of the road,
absolutely.
stop?
Because at that
You
point
can?
in
yep.
time, you're stationary and you're
Yep.
parked.
Okay.
So as long as you're in a safe place, if
Yep.
parked to the side of the road, yes, you can be on your phone. And I've been more than glad to see people with their hazard lights on in a safe place where I've pulled them over, go, hey, is everything okay? I was just using my phone. absolutely phenomenal.
Good.
As a
Okay.
high five to that person. But when I see someone in the middle of an intersection and the light's green and they're still at the green light for 5 seconds on their phone because they're distracted, well, this is where we see the issues.
Yep.
Yeah,
So tips
exactly.
for the viewers: turn your notifications off. Put your phone in your bag in the back or in your glove compartment. Don't touch it. Like, just that's what I've started doing. I put my phone in my purse and I put it in my trunk. So then there's
Oh, a lot of the newer
no
phones
temptation.
have a car mode where it doesn't do any notifications unless it's an urgent one or
Oh,
from
okay.
specific contacts. People can put it on, I know the iPhone has a car mode where once it's plugged into the car, it knows it's in motion in a car. So certain
Mhm.
notifications are eliminated.
Use it while you're in
But
motion.
you have to turn it on, right? Some
Yeah.
people, they won't turn that on and they proceed anyways.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so I have a question here from a reader, viewer, but I'm not sure what he means. So maybe you can know what he means. Says, do you feel after seizing cars for the fatal 5 Cornwalls a safer? And do you think charges that can stick with a teenager forever are appropriate? I'm not sure what he means.
I'm gonna say I'm not sure either. That seems like it's diving into quite a few different things. So I really can't answer any of that that I'm aware of.
I'm gonna ask if he can
That's
So
okay. Yeah.
I've got
clarify.
one. I've got a quick question too. So for new residents coming into our country, do they get to use and they've already driven for many years from where they came from? Do they have to retake their license here, or can they use the same license, or how does that work from somebody from another country?
So depending on the country they're coming from, but let's say an international driver who's driving with a license that's recognized here, they'll come into the country and after, if they're changing their license, let's say to an Ontario license because they decided to move here, they will go to the MTO and they'll be provided with a temporary license. At that point, they're going to be doing a full drive test to determine
Okay.
that they're safe for the roads in Ontario. They go through the process just like anyone else to get their full driver's license here. And once they've
Oh, okay.
acknowledged and passed that test here, then they can have the license here.
Okay,
So
so
they
there's
don't automatically get it.
It's not an automatic given, so they'll drive
Mm.
for a period of time with a G2. We've seen international driver's licenses that are provided to me alongside with a G2, and they're still going for their full G tests once they're in Canada. So once they've provided that test and passed that test, then they will change over their international license. They've been no longer into an Ontario license, and then they will drive here.
Because
oh,
there's a big
okay.
rumor out there about newcomers and how they are involved in more accidents than like the born Canadians. So um, not a thing.
No, so let's clarify that rumor because it's a rumor and a myth is what it is. So basically, regardless of anyone's background, where they're coming from, where they're doing, everyone's got to go through the same drive test process. And I love to talk about this in a really simple way. When I was 18, when I did my drive test, I was paying attention to every stop sign, everything that was. There would be a leaf flying across the road. I'd be like, "Oh, that's a leaf flying across the road. Gotta be careful," you know. That's how attentive we all were during our drive test, and that's the way everyone was. And now we're starting to see complacency after that. So once you've passed that test, everyone kind of relaxes. I'm in my 3,000 pound rocket. I'll go down the street, and they're not as maybe safety oriented as they were the day they took that test. So regardless of the driver, it's we got to be careful not to get into that mode of complacency. So with the
Mhm.
rumors of is it international drivers causing more issues? Is it newcomers to Canada? Is it new drivers the more issue? It's not a person. It's not a different stereotype. It's certainly just drivers in general that have become complacent after a certain point and now are disregarding certain laws. And that's how collisions occur. All of us passed our test with the same basic diagram of what we have to do. And
Yeah.
I remember that test day. I was panicked. I was like, okay, 10 and 2, here we go. Here's this, here's that. Stop sign. I never forget how long I stopped at a stop sign for like 5 seconds. Left, right, left, 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 right. And then I went, right? That's the way we all were because we were so safe. And
Yeah.
that's why, hey, you passed, that's good, you're safe, that's
Yeah.
great. And you moved on. But now we're starting to see those same drivers tap their brake and just roll through. or speed because they think, hey, 65 and a 50 or 80 and a 50 is okay because I haven't gotten a collision in years. So just to demystify all that, it's not a person, place, or what location someone's from. It's certainly just complacency after the testing's all over with.
Yeah, good point.
Okay.
So actually, there's one other thing I just wanted to mention too. Now you're coming up to you're at a red light and you get a green arrow saying that you can turn. Okay, so you're turning, and then the green arrow goes away. There's people still turning that way, even when the green arrow has disappeared, and the oncoming traffic can't come because people are still turning. Do you see that often? Especially around Walmart, that happens.
We do see it. It's the same idea of the rush, right? We talked about
Yep.
speeding before, where people will see the green lights and they're okay, I can turn left, and then they'll see the car ahead of them and the green light will turn yellow, but now it's green for north and southbound traffic. Well,
Yep.
now this person, because they see traffic still, but it's about to start, they'll try and zoom in real quick to the left. Got to be careful of certain dynamics of that, so I'm going to be careful of my wording, but reality is the drivers who are about to start from a stop position, they have to do so safely as well. So if they're proceeding forward even though it's straight, they have to be careful of that turning car. But it's
Mhm.
all perspective of where they're at in the intersection and who's moving where. If those vehicles are already moving forward, now this driver who's turning left, he's the one who has to be careful of those drivers moving forward. So it's
Mhm.
almost like who's first, who's on first. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, people try and beat both ways. I want to speed, I want to go, I want to get to wherever I need to go faster. And the remember we talked about road rage. No, I don't want that guy to turn. This is my turn. I have the green. I'm going. Got to be careful of all those perspectives. If people just take a second and not road rage or get mad about it, but okay, I see that guy turning, is what it is. I'll take an extra second and drive. Everything's going to be okay. If
Mhm.
that guy who's turning left, even he sees the yellow left turn and decides, you know what, I don't think that's going to be a safe move. I'll stay here. The guys are mad behind him. That's okay. He's taking an extra second to be safe as well. So as
Yep.
long as everyone plays it safe, we're good. It's when people take the risks is where issues happen.
So, in other
Yep.
words, chill, people.
Yeah.
Take
Other
a
words,
breather.
take an extra second.
So, okay, so Dave clarifies, says March 23rd to 25th, Cornwall did a campaign. 5 cars were seized and 6 drivers arrested. Drug driving, failure to wear seatbelt, distracting driving, and fitness to drive, such as poor eyesight. So, I'm still not sure what
Yeah.
the question is in there.
No, maybe it's something can be elaborated later, or you can send me a more detailed question. But
A
unfortunately, that
question.
kind of
Yeah.
question, especially let's say if it did involve investigation, I'm not aware of it. But if it did, that's details that can be
Sure. So you
advised
send us
later
the
on.
question, Dave, and we'll ask and we'll get back to you. So last thing I wanted to ask before we let you go is about the smart cars. Like we've talked about the big screen and stuff, but there's also I know my car warns me when there's somebody in my blind spot. But these things don't always necessarily work. And then we come to rely on them. And then when they don't work, you're trying to move. And so, do they replace what the driver is supposed to do, or is it just an extra layer of precaution?
So absolute phenomenal question, and I love that we're in this trend of questioning, and especially in traffic. I love the word complacency. It will always be what it is. So ideally, with all the technology that's coming out, you're hearing about smart cars that are driving themselves. You're hearing
Oh,
about ones that maintain their lane, one that's advising you that something's to your right or left, or even the parking ones where it's giving you a 360 view of your parking. So you're just like, well, I'll just trust the camera. But in reality, all these things are here to help the driver, not to do it for the driver. That's what it's all about. So it's just saying, hey, something's here, but you should take a second look. I'll never trust the devices on their own. It's just advising you, hey, maybe you should take a look. Because the one day that it doesn't work, now what do? You can't just stop your car and be like, oh, nothing works, I'm done. No, you were trained how to drive. You passed your test without all these devices in play
mhm.
that you can do it. It's just that you've become complacent where you're just trusting these devices to do the job for you. When in reality, you're the driver, it's your job. So, taking an extra second to, if you're turning to the right and you see that little indicator on, you're probably still going to look. Oh, there is a car there. But just because you look to the right and that indicator isn't showing something in your blind spot doesn't mean something's not there. Sometimes it's a small motorcycle. Sometimes it's an e-bike. Maybe these things don't detect something of that size.
Yep.
Maybe it's a person that's there when you're about to turn right, or a bike that's parked at a red light right beside you. It may not detect that. You still have to take that extra second to look. All these devices are there for is to help you drive a little more cautiously and help you, but it's always going to be on you to perform all those actions properly.
But aren't you worried that like it's nice in theory, but the truth of the matter is that it's kind of retraining drivers and making them reliant on that technology? Do you not see a problem in the future?
Yeah, no, when you we start looking 10, 20 years ahead, I think it's just like, what kind of world war are we going to live in there? Are they all going to be self-driving? Are they going to
Yeah.
be like that? But the good thing about drive test centers and the way that they're still conducting these tests is it's the driver who's driving and doing these maneuvers. And that should instill on someone who's 18, 19, 20, whenever they're getting their license, that this is the way I should drive always. The issue is, yes, with newer technology, especially in all the newer cars, like you used to have to buy the $80,000
It was
package,
a,
right,
yeah,
to get whatever. But now a lot of new cars, even the lower models, have all these
it's
features.
standard.
Yeah. So it's just up to the person to just sometimes it's a little reminder of, oh, there's something there. And they get reminded, I should always look.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I think with education, with public awareness, that people are to take a second look always. So this is what's great about the Cornwall Police and with the position they allowed me to be in is to provide education constantly. So you see me on Facebook at ABCs with ABR. Take a look, follow and subscribe, you know. But I'm always there trying to educate. We start seeing these new roundabouts, we start seeing all these. And when I start
Hmm.
seeing more problems, such as let's say someone had told me in a collision, listen, I looked to my right, my signal, my collision indicator, sorry, blind spot indicator wasn't on. So I turned and I hit somebody. Well, that's something for me to talk about, maybe in education wise to the public. It's also something for me to mention to the car manufacturers in Transport Canada. Maybe something went wrong with that device, which will lead to more problems. But it's also on the driver who didn't take a second look to make sure what they were doing was safe to do so.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's one thing that I find happens quite a bit because I live around Martintown. I drive in on Cornwall Center Road, and at Headline Road, very often there'll be a car sitting there waiting to turn, and it'll wait, and turn right in front of me. Like, why would people even do that? Are they playing chicken or something just at the last minute trying to get hit? Because
That's when
that's
we
happened quite a bit.
Yeah, and when we talk about complacency, so I'm not up in Headline Road when we talk about the
Yeah,
OPP's jurisdiction and so on, but I can speak for the generalization of that kind of intersection. It
yeah,
happens here too, where people will take a left, right, left look. They'll look one more time, but not take that second look the other direction and do the maneuver then. And this is where other collisions occur.
okay.
It's more timing, and I think people become impatient at one point. I know that sometimes at those intersections, you can sit there for 30 seconds, a minute, and be like, oh my God, the traffic's never ending. So they take a risk. And that's where complacency and taking risks become a problem. Because once you decide to take a risk, anytime in your brain you're saying, okay, I'm going to go for it, probably not a good idea
Yeah,
unless you're saying, okay, now it's my turn. So if you have to make the distinction between the two, I'll always go when, okay, I'm good, versus, okay, I gotta go.
okay. Well, thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Julia. Are there any more questions or
I'm good.
this was very
Very
interesting.
informative. Yes.
No, it's been super fun to have you guys. I love educating the public. I'd be glad to come back anytime. And you know, if anyone wants to follow the Cornwall Police page, it's a fantastic way. We've been
Yeah.
providing a lot of information to people. Our media is amazing right now. They've been pushing out a lot of things. Rodney's been doing great work. Our frontline officers have been doing fantastic at enforcement and traffic. I want the public to know that we're seeing the public complaints on Facebook and social media.
Okay, good.
I'm going through every single one of them. I'm trying to see, okay, here's where this traffic initiative is going to be this year. Here's what we're doing here. We're paying attention. We're listening. We're out there. We're trying. There's a huge call volume with our manpower, and we're trying to deal with all that we can. Luckily, I've been in the position I am where I'm paying attention to all of it, and we're really trying to get out there and enforce. We have a great crime reduction unit. We have youth services. We have all our units trying to do the best they can to teach the youth about driving,
Mhm.
get the people who are complacent back into the road of safety. And we just want everyone to understand that we're out there. We're going to help the best we can. We're trying to make safer Cornwall for all to enjoy. And I'll be out there. And if anyone has questions, comments, concerns in relation to traffic, Constable Andrew Booth Reddick, you always reach out to me if you want and ask me anything. I'll be more than glad to help out.
Do you have an email
Perfect.
address? Do you have an email address that people can email you?
Yeah, you know what? One of the best ways to get in contact with me, I think I'm going to leave it to the Cornwall Police Dispatch Center where people can request directly from me, and or
Okay.
they can just ask, I have a traffic question, can I speak to the traffic officer? They'll direct always to me, which is fantastic, and they'll provide all that information. I'll take voicemails or they'll provide the email as well, and
Perfect.
we'll go from there.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Andrew. We'll make sure to have you again sometime soon.
That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much.
All
You guys
right.
take
Have
care.
a
Have a
great
wonderful
day.
day.
Yep.
You
Bye
as
bye.
well. Bye for now.
Okay. Well, that was
So
super
basically,
informative.
but it's true. Like when you first take your license for the first, 6 months or so, you've got 10 and 2. You're so careful, and then
Of course.
complacency is what
So
happens.
you have it, people. It's not so much about age, race, whatever. It's more about complacency and how long you've been driving. And so, yeah,
How comfortable you've gotten behind the wheel.
right, right.
You
We're all
don't
guilty of
pay
like
attention.
this
It's true.
is going to redirect my attention.
Yeah,
So,
and especially because you're driving a
uh,
rocket, you're a weapon. You're
yeah,
driving a weapon. I love the way you said that. You got to remember that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
got a weapon
It's a
under you.
it's a big heavy machinery, you know.
It is.
So,
It is. So I've just got a few quick things that are happening in the next little while. So
mhm,
this Thursday, April the 24th, we've got the Youth Engagement Fair from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Cornwall Civic Complex. The
mhm,
event is for youth 11 to 17, and it's designed to connect youth with local organizations, services, different opportunities. It was actually neat because we had done the youth fair a few years ago, looking for any junior reporters out there. Because again,
mhm.
encouraging kids to write because they just click on their keyboard, they don't write. So if there is anybody out there that would like to be a junior reporter for the Seeker, please get a hold of us. Email us at info@theseeker.ca. We'd love to have you on board. And of course, this weekend coming up, Saturday, April 26th and Sunday, April 27th, is known as Cape Weekend.
Cape.
So it's the
10 years this year.
Exactly, Cornwall and area pop event. I can't believe it's already 10 years. I remember when Randy and Carol started
Mhm.
this. It was awesome. So co-owners Randy and Carol Solvay started this event 10 years ago. It takes place at the Benson Center. And we have an awesome interview with them in the Seeker that is just out, the April Seeker. They have some wonderful guests, and if you want any more information about Kate, go to their website at cornwallpopevent.com. I'm sure all the information is going to be there. Plus, like I say, read the interview in the Seeker. It is on page 25.
Okay. And don't forget to vote. Everybody, Monday is election day, Monday the 28th. Don't
Exactly.
forget to vote. Advance
Uh,
polls are also open, so you can vote
yep.
in advance.
Yeah, and we're currently working on the May Seeker. I can't believe it's already the May Seeker, halfway
I know.
through the year. So if you have anything to put in, please send it in to us by Friday at 9 o'clock, this Friday coming up. We're featuring gardening, home improvements, and home decor. So if any of that applies to you, get a hold of us again at info@theseeker.ca. And like Julia says, make sure you vote. We
Yes, absolutely.
Sheldon and I actually voted, like pre-voted yesterday at Ramada, and I asked the question, have they seen more younger voters this year? And the answer was yes. There's a lot more young people voting.
That's
And
good.
in fact, she told me there's some people that are 50 and 60 years old out voting for the first time in their lives. So they've
Good.
seen they've seen a lot of bigger numbers for voting this year. So that's awesome.
Awesome.
Important.
All right. Well, with that, people, the hour is done.
Yep.
We wish you a very, very happy day.
And a super duper week. Bye
We'll
for
see you next
now.
week. Bye.